Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call together the committee meeting for the Conservation, Sustainability, and Green Initiatives Committee. We have a really long agenda today, so let's get right into it. The first thing I'd like to do is just have Brandon, can you just take roll?
Sure, no problem. Mr. Reinhardt.
Yep.
Mr. Epicoro.
Yeah.
Mr. Pine.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Plotsky.
Here.
Mr. Simpson.
Here.
Mr. Tunney.
Here.
Ms. Lockhart.
Here.
And Mr. Commisso. 8 present.
Okay. Now the first thing we have to do is to just approve the previous minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the previous minutes? Matt?
Second.
Tunney? We'll go with him. And okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, sounds unanimous.
Question.
The item that we have today is the resolution that Jeff Purley has put together concerning view sheds. And Jeff, I'll ask you now just to go ahead and make a few comments. Oh, what? Mert, do you have?
Very quick, I just have to say I'm going to have to leave early. I'm doing a webcast with Suni Oneonta at around 6:30ish, so I'm going to have to leave. But I think we still have a quorum, yes?
I believe so, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. So go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a brief sort of statement of explanation that I'll share. New York State General Municipal Law provides for a referral process that empowers county planning boards to exercise jurisdictional review of certain proposed developments and land use matters which are adjacent to county highways, public parks, and other interests particular to the county, including active agricultural uses. In its standard of review of such projects that meet this jurisdictional criteria, the county planning board is statutorily authorized to consider a number of enumerated factors and criteria, including, of course, the county's comprehensive plan, capital programs, and other official county developmental policies as expressed through regulatory measures or policies or resolutions approved by the county legislature. The purpose of this resolution, Resolution 384, is to first acknowledge that Albany County considers the Helderberg Escarpment to be a critical natural asset, an asset of great importance to the community character of a large portion of the county. It cuts across and encompasses several individual townships. Indeed, along with portions of the Hudson and Mohawk Rivers and the Pine Bush, the Helderberg Escarpment can be said to be the iconic natural feature of the county, and it is the only one of the 4 that to lie entirely within the county's borders. The additional purpose of this resolution is to add consideration of this feature, more specifically, the iconic views of the escarpment from the valley floor, to those factors that the county planning board should assess and consider when conducting its review of the proposed developments or land use changes that are brought before it. Now, it's obvious that a particular proposed development or land use change that is located in a particular town within the county will be subject to that town's review and standards. In addition, the law already provides that if the proposal impacts a listed interest of the county as well applies its review and its standards. This resolution specifically adds to those standards to allow the county planning board to consider the intercommunity and countywide impacts which a development affecting the escarpment views may create. The bottom line is that the escarpment and our view of it is a county treasure, a regional treasure. So it's only appropriate that a regional perspective be brought to the review of developments that will impact it.
Okay, Jeff, did you have anything more you wanted to add at this point, or shall I open it up to questions?
Questions are fine.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions to Jeff at this point?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Matt?
So Jeff, it's pretty straightforward in its, in how you wrote the law for sure. In the And I obviously agree with you 100%. I love going out there and everything else and going up to Thatcher and taking a look out from there. In the first resolved, what are you looking to get out of it, I guess? Is it you just want them to consider it? Is there a hope that if there's some unsightly, big tower or some block building that, they can use that as a means to say, hey, we don't support this?
Well, generally speaking, Matt, what we want to do is basically to provide the community a means by which to present their concerns to the county at the county planning board review process. And this stems from a specific project in the town of Guilderland earlier this year, in which development was proposed that would significantly impact the views of the escarpment from both the Orchard Creek Golf Course, the restaurant, and from State Route 397.
Okay.
Ultimately, and the community rose up and stated its opposition. Ultimately and happily, the town of Guilderland responded to that. And the good news is the development, which is a solar farm, is going to go forward, but it's going to do so at a different parcel so that the views are not impacted at all. But what was interesting is that matter was dealt with at the Guilderland Planning Board in December, January, February. The community was engaged. It had actually been referred and dealt with 6 months earlier by the county planning board, which had no consideration of this issue at all. So what the purpose of this resolution is to add this as a factor to be considered and addressed at the county planning board level, right? So that the county planning board is empowered to consider and assess the impact on view sheds of a proposed development. And I'm not faulting the county planning board. It just it wasn't in their mix of things to look at previously.
Yeah.
And this resolution hopefully will add that to the mix.
That background's important. I appreciate that. That's helpful
Yeah.
to understand that. Yeah.
Oh,
Good, Bill.
yeah, Patricia.
Not sure if I'm going to ask this right, but I understand. I like what you're saying, Jeff, about this. So the view from, say, Guilderland looking at the escarpment to not be blocked or whatever. What about the reverse? So many people go up there and look out, and I don't know, I can't really think of what project might be a dump. But you know what I mean? Does it work in reverse too?
No, this resolution does not address the reverse, Patty, and that's very deliberate at this stage.
Okay.
Because there actually is a proposal now in the town of New Scotland. Again, it's a solar farm, and some of the issues have been raised is that the view from Thatcher Park down, right? And frankly, and I have sympathy with that, but to me, that's a slightly different kettle of fish. And perhaps in an additional iteration, we may want to consider that. But this resolution concerns itself with the view from the valley floor up. I thought it best to kind of take slow, gradual steps rather than make it, as comprehensive.
Probably wise. Yeah, probably wise.
I'd like to just add a little bit more background here because Jeff and I, when Jeff was very new to the legislature, he and I got together to address this issue. We went out and we met with people. This was all pre-COVID, of course. And it was to me, it was quite interesting how the view issue that Jeff raised and was demonstrated to me was really rather obvious. And again, I don't want to sound real critical of the board, but of our county planning board, but if you were standing where Jeff and I were standing and you said, okay, that's where the panels are going to be. Now I'm all for solar panels, you all know that, but that's where the panels are going to be, right behind where the people have their wedding ceremony. It really didn't make a lot of sense. And yet there was a solution, and that solution was arrived at, through good collaboration on the part of stakeholders. So it all worked out. But I think what Jeff is trying to say here is we should have a little bit more of a procedural path for how to do this, just to make sure it's looked at. And I did want to say that I'm gonna ask Rebecca to chime in here in a moment. But there are some issues. I did discuss this with Jeff before the meeting, that perhaps what we ought to think about is just tabling this to refine the language a little bit so we can be more specific about how we would proceed with this. But anyway, Rebecca, can you elaborate a little bit on your conversation with Laura from earlier?
Yes, I had a conversation with Laura Travison, who does many of the reviews for the Albany County Planning Board. She indicated to me that review of view sheds is something that the Albany County Planning Board currently does. And it's within its current purview, as in the section that you cited, certainly is something that they can reach, and that they are doing that now. I don't know if they were before. She indicated to me that last month they looked at a solar farm next to Indian Ladder Farms, and the view sheds did come into the conversation. So it is something they are looking at. But one option that I had spoken to Mr. Reinhardt about was the option of potentially tabling this to just review the issue further and ascertain whether there's a particular action item that we can take or add to the resolution to the resolved clauses to just kind of make this a more actionable item.
So Jeff, that's what I was alluding to before. And it seems like are you okay with that? Does it make sense given what you had said to me earlier?
I am okay with that, Bill. And I think what I would suggest that we, if we're looking for more specificity, which I certainly support, is that we would perhaps charge the county planning board to do what has been done in several similar jurisdictions, which would be to conduct a view shed assessment and survey, so as to give sort of some meat on the bones of what is an iconic view. Right now, the way it's drafted, it's very general. And I think it would be strengthened if we had the benefit of the planning professionals at the county at our direction to undertake a more specific and professional view shed assessment and sort of rank and prioritize those areas. Because obviously, the view of the escarpment from the industrial park in Guilderland Center may not be deemed as critical importance to protect as the view from Indian Ladder Farms, right? So there's a variable scale here, and I think we would be very much the resolution and the spirit behind it would be strengthened if we had the benefit of that professional input from the professional planners. So I would be fine with tabling it with the understanding that we would modify it to have a more specific resolved clause that would task the county planning department to undertake an assessment and survey of critically protectable view sheds.
Yeah. Oh yes, you moved.
No,
Reinhardt, I have a question as well.
another question.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Here,
Okay.
God.
I appreciate what council is saying about that the planning board says they already take this into consideration. But I think that my one thought is that with something that's so important, I don't think it's a bad idea for the legislature to speak up and let them know that that's important to us too. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Did someone
I
else?
think that I like the idea of, if you have to table it to strengthen it and that, but I hate sometimes, if we're already doing it, we think, well, we don't need to do it. But I think this sends a good message in resolution form, once you get the things worked out,
Yeah.
to move forward with it.
Uh-huh.
Just my
Did
thought.
someone else have a comment?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Sam?
My comment is, it seems well thought out, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I just want to state that I'm concerned about any type of issue like this, that any issue involving NIMBYism that could potentially block something that's a public benefit, like solar panels, something that's good for the environment or affordable housing. And so I'm not saying that this necessarily is going to cause a problem there, but I just want to make sure we're not restricting, causing problems where we're restricting the development of things that benefit the public.
Yeah. Sam, I will just respond to that by saying I share that concern. One of the things I discussed with Laura Traverson, the planner, earlier today was that if you look at something like affordable housing or solar farms or other types of development, if they are a permitted use, this kind of issue isn't necessarily one that derails it. It might improve how it's done. But, you know, Laura's comment was, well, this doesn't mean that if there's a view shed concern that, you know, even a sizable number of people have, it doesn't mean the thing doesn't happen. It just means it has to be done carefully and the planning process can address those concerns, but it's not an automatic, you know, black ball veto of a project. And I'm kind of viewing it the same way. I would not want to see this be used as a way to say, well, we're not going to have any more solar farms because there's always going to be one person who is going to see the panels from their property. And so that is a view shed issue that automatically, you know, negates, you know, that's not where we're going. But I do think that actually underscores the reason that we need to think this through a little bit more and, you know, come up with the procedures and a little bit of more meat on the bone as far as exactly what it is that we as the legislature want to see done here on behalf of how the planning board views these kinds of things. So unless there's anyone else who has a comment right now.
Just
Was
Bill, just, you know, I want to see what goes on it eventually, but at this point, you know, I don't know if it's to Jeff or Rebecca or to you, Bill, but I'd be happy to be on the bill as well. Be added
Yeah.
to the bill.
I actually, let me just add, I shared the draft, Jeff's resolution. I shared it with the legislators in Bethlehem, New Scotland and Guilderland. I got several comments back that were supportive and interest in co-sponsoring. So I did want to put that out there and thank you, Matt. You're another one. But let's table it for now and let's you know, work on the detail. Now, Matt, Mert, did you have something you wanted to say? Oh, he's on mute. Okay. You're still on mute.
No, I just said I wanted to be added as well. That's all.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Is that it? Do we need to have a vote on tabling or, yeah, okay. All right. So Jeff, we're going to table this, but let's put our heads together digitally and we'll see. And maybe what we ought to do is try to reach out to Laura to talk about this a little bit more, to see how we might, you know, develop some of that detail that we would add.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you.
I think that's pretty much it for the evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion, Matt, motion, and Bararo, second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, sounds good to me. I didn't hear any no's. Didn't see any no's. All right, I guess I'll see you all at the hearing. Not
Thanks,
too long
Bill.
from now.